Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Ask Jungle Scout. We're here in Melbourne, Australia, in front of Flinders Street Station, Australia's largest railway station and also a Melbourne city icon. We'll come back to that later. We get so many comments and questions from you guys, but what we often find is that people are asking the same questions. So what we want to do with this segment is share those answers that we feel a lot of people could benefit from. So if you want your question to be answered, make sure you leave it in the comments below and hopefully it'll get featured in another episode.
So the first question is from Tony. So if I'm already using JumpSend, should I also use PPC? Is PPC a must for maximizing profits?
I'll try and break it down into why PPC is important when launching and then reasons to keep PPC going afterwards. So when you first launch, you're basically not going to have a ranking on any keywords. You're not going to be found when people type in the name for your product. If you advertise on keywords, so using Amazon's sponsored ads or PPC, if you bid high enough, you can appear on page 1 at potentially at the very top of page 1 without having any reviews, any sales. You can be there so you can get visibility. That's why PPC is super important when you get started. However, it will cost you a little bit more to start with because you don't have any reviews. You might get a lot of clicks but not as many sales. Unfortunately, you just have to sort of soldier through this first kind of grind stage until you get a few reviews, and the more reviews you get, the better your conversion rate will be and the cheaper your PPC will be. Tony actually added another comment to his question and he explained that he's been using JumpSend, which sends out follow-up emails to Amazon customers to basically go, hey, I hope you've had a great experience, thanks for buying, and if you wouldn't mind leaving a review, please do. As your reviews grow, as your average star rating grows, let's say from 3 to 4 to 5 stars, people are going to be more likely to purchase your product organically. So maybe you don't need PPC. However, in my opinion, I still find that it's definitely worthwhile having PPC. So I think it comes down to keywords. So for instance, you might have an average star rating of 4.8. So you've got a good star rating, you know, couple of hundred reviews, whatever, and you're getting some good natural organic sales on your top 3 or 4 keywords. However, there's a lot more keywords out there, a lot more long tail keywords, potentially hundreds or thousands of keywords that your product could be found on that you're not ranking on. PPC is one of the best ways to get ranked on new keywords. So if you're advertising on a particular keyword and you get a sale through that, then Amazon decides to rank you on that keyword. That is why I would suggest to keep PPC running even once your listing is established.
Question 2 is from Milan Tomic. Should we be focusing on estimated sales or revenue? I would think that revenue per month is more important.
What Milan is referring to, I believe, is the Jungle Scout Chrome extension. If you haven't used that, it's a Chrome extension that you can run on Amazon on a search page or a product page, and it will give you a whole heap of information like estimated sales, the reviews, etc., etc. What you generally want to see is in the top 10 listings, you want a combined sales amount of at least 3,000. And that means that if you were to get in the top 10 on page 1, that your listing would hopefully get at least 300 sales or 10 sales per day. But you might only be able to get, say, 5 sales per day on a particular product. But it makes $30 profit per product. In that instance, maybe look at the revenue because, you know, even though it doesn't get as many sales, it's made up for by the fact that it makes so much profit per product. So in cases like that, maybe it is worthwhile looking at revenue, but for the most part, we just recommend looking at sales. It's just easier to compare.
Question 3 is from Hoki Kun. So basically anything that uses a coupon code or discount cannot be reviewed by the person who you gave discount to?
So that's almost right. It's not true that people that get discount codes can't ever review. Amazon were trying to stop incentivized reviews. So now what JumpSend does, which is totally within Amazon's terms of service, is that when you give out discount codes, the seller no longer has the opportunity to screen who they give them to. They can't screen the reviewers, see what their, how many helpful votes they've had, or how many reviews and what sort of reviews they leave. Essentially, there's no contact between the seller and the buyer. They're basically anonymous. So in that instance, the customer is allowed to leave a review. There's no way that the seller could have incentivized them to do so. So hopefully that makes sense.
Question 4 is from Scary Stories. I need guidance on private label package design with Alibaba suppliers in China. Basically, my suppliers have said, we can do whatever. But after asking so far, they have not provided any computer file templates or details. Any Jungle Scout content on managing the packaging design process?
Cool, so I wanted to include this question just to kind of clarify what we've seen happen a lot with suppliers. And this is assuming that you're getting a supplier in China, because that's what we're most familiar with. Generally speaking, suppliers should have a template for the packaging of their product. And if you ask them for that, they should be able to supply that for you, that you can get a designer to work on and then send back. Quite often they'll have different packaging options. So they might have a really basic plastic bag, and then they might have a box. The best thing to do is, it all comes down to communication. So just always be very clear and ask the suppliers exactly what you want. Just ask them outright, what are your packaging options? And then they should be able to tell you what they are, and then say, can I please have a template for the box to give to my designer? If you just communicate, ask them, they're normally pretty good at giving you what you need. But yeah, generally speaking, they should have templates for any packaging that they offer. Question 5 from Mindapal. How do you suggest we get reviews these days, since we are no longer allowed to give product away in exchange for reviews? So I wanted to include this one in as well, because we still do get a lot of questions asking about, what do we do now that there's no longer incentivized reviews? Now, we do have a detailed video about this, which will be in the description. So you should definitely check that one out to get the full explanation. But I wanted to cover it really quickly. Pay-per-click, already spoke about that earlier. Use pay-per-click at the start. It is going to cost you more, but you've got to invest that money up front in your marketing to get some first reviews and to get your listing started. Then it's promotional giveaways. Now, they're not dead. Just because you can't ask for reviews anymore doesn't mean you can't run giveaways. They're still super powerful for getting some sales. I believe that it's all about momentum. The more sales that you can get, whether it's full price or through a giveaway, the more sales that you get, it just really helps your listing. So do a promotional giveaway. You're not going to see the same numbers of reviews that you used to, but a lot of people still will give you reviews. So it's a good way to get that sales algorithm going for your listing. Then lastly is email campaigns. So follow up email campaigns to anyone who does buy your product, just providing great customer service and asking for the review. Those are 3 ways that you can still launch a product and get reviews today. All right, so those are today's questions. If you want to have your question featured on another episode, make sure you leave it in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you got some value out of today's answers, and we'll see you on the next episode.